good. Well, good morning. My name is Susan McCoy from Kansas City, Missouri, and we are so excited that you are here with us to be at the director meeting. This is normally our Kansas City C4 director meeting, but virtually you can come from anywhere. And we have the pleasure of having National Sales Director Tammy Crayk Smith here with us today. And boy, she rocked the world and flew around the globe to get here. So we're super happy to have her. And then she'll be with our Reds this afternoon. So if you don't have that information, also, if you get a chance to shout out to your Reds to pull up their year-to-date current retail numbers as of today in their at a glance. And I'm going to turn it over to, I believe it's Roxy or Amy.
Yeah, Roxy.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. Hello, Tammy. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you today. So real quickly, save the date. Save the date. June 21st, we'll have Jan Thetford, National Sales Director. We always call it Jan in June, Jubilant Jan in June, you know, whatever you want to call it, Jumpstart. And is our special speaker and guest speaker for our C4 at the Radcliffe Marriott. So that will be a big event that evening. Of course, she'll do the directors meeting that morning, red jacket thing that afternoon. But just mark your calendar, get it out to your units now. We'll start promoting it pretty quickly, but we'll see you in June on June 21st.
All right, I'm going to hop on. I'm going to jump in now and share some accolades with Tammy. First, I do want to acknowledge that we have another national sales director in our presence. Good morning, Jill Davis. Thank you for getting on with us. As always, Jill is our sort of local NSD star, and we really appreciate your ongoing support. You know, I woke up this morning and I thought, yay, I get to be on with Tammy. And then I remembered she does not know me, but I feel like I know Tammy because I'm one of the millions who has just admired her and followed her career. We joined in the same year. So really, Tammy Crayk has always been part of my Mary Kay, and I know she's such a big part of yours too. So just really quickly, I want to share a little bit about Tammy's accolades. And then we're just going to let her take it. So Tammy began her business in January of 1994. She was a stay-at-home mom. She had a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. There are some of us in life who are crock pots and some who are microwaves, and Tammy is a microwave. So within 4 months, she had earned her company car. Within 9 months, she became a sales director. In her first full year as a director, they did 500,000 production. And then by her third year, they did 1.3 million, which set a company record. And they hit the million 4 times. Twice, she was #1 in her sales division. And then one time in, 2003, they ranked #1 in the entire world. So that's 28 years of luxury trips and driving pink. She is a multimillionaire, earning more than $5.5 million in commissions during her career. But I think probably what Tammy would say and what we all benefit from is her circle of influence, which is to more than 3,000 women in her national area, and then tens of thousands around the world. I mean, she's been asked to train in Italy and Germany, and just, you know, think how many of us have heard Tammy's trainings all over, and even right here in Kansas City. I do remember going to Finnegan's Hall with Jillian Ortega and hearing Tammy quite a few years ago. She reached the pinnacle of success and became a national sales director in just 10 years. And guys, that's really pretty amazing. She's also been honored as a company Miss Go Give, and her peers selected her to serve on the National Sales Director Advisory Board. And that speaks so much to her, just everything that Tammy is. And we know that she stands for excellence. Her favorite saying is, the true test of a woman's character is what it takes to stop her. So help me welcome and give this over to Tammy Crayk.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Oh my word. And Amy, I actually do know who you are. We don't know each other personally, but I do know who you are. I think most people know the name Amy Duncan. So it's nice to be introduced by you. I want to thank all of you for hosting this and showing up. I know Jill Davis is huge out there in Kansas City and does amazing things to pull the entire Mary Kay culture together out there. So Jill, love seeing you here this morning. What a treat when a national shows up for another national. I really, really appreciate that. And to Susan McCoy, who reached out and just asked, thank you. Thank you, Susan. I know that you all have access to, connection to all nationals. And, you know, Susan McCoy, being Susan McCoy, could ask anybody. So I don't take this assignment lightly. And I am really absolutely thrilled to be here. So for the director group today, I chose a brand new topic that I have only trained on one time so far to my national area. And it's something I've been studying really since the pandemic started. I just thought, well, we're going to have all this extra time, then I may as well use it educationally. And I promptly turned off the news and dove into books and, you know, training from some of my all-time outside of Mary Kay mentors, people like Tony Robbins and John Maxwell, and, you know, just many, many. So this is a compilation. I want to give credit where credit is due. Most of this is not Tammy Crayk original, okay? And I think that's always important to say that. But what happened was here's a question. Why is it that you can take two people who have the same opportunities, okay, same tools, absolutely everything identical, and we see this every day in Mary Kay, don't we, as we start brand new beauty consultants and people debut as brand new sales directors. But why is it that you can put two people with seemingly the same skills, education, you know, everything together, and one will soar and the other does not? Have you ever wondered that? Have you ever looked at, you know, I don't know if you've done this, but I certainly have, that we have somebody come into our organization and we think, oh, she's going to be dynamite, like she's going to soar, and ends up she doesn't do a whole lot, and maybe even goes to Mary Kay heaven, right? And then you've got someone else that you would never have placed a bet on, comes in and just flies, okay? But they have the same starter kit. They even had the same leader in you, or, you know, national sales directors. We all have the same access, especially with virtual nowadays. We have the same access to all the same information, right? That didn't used to be the case back in the day. You know, we didn't have all these things like that we have today, not even cell phones when I started, okay? And certainly not the internet or Zoom or any of that. But so back in the day, it really depended on, you know, who you were willing to get yourself in front of. Like I remember flying from Salt Lake City to somewhere in California, I think it was Sacramento, to hear Kathy Hillou speak. You know, bought my own airplane ticket, flew there, paid for hotel, did the whole thing because I was in search of, you know, the best of the best in Mary Kay. And she had just done 2 million when I came into Mary Kay. So anyway, that question has been on my mind for many, 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 many years. And I'm sure as you as leaders as well. Well, here's the deal. As national sales directors and top directors, we ask ourselves the same things about our offspring sales directors. And, you know, if you guys have ever heard me train, it's not going to feel good. Okay. So just get your feelers all, you know, softened up. And Jan Thetford will be here next time and she'll kiss on you and make you laugh and make you feel a whole lot better. I'm just going to give you the down and dirty, as I always do. That's the number one comment people always say to me or write to me is thanks for the kick in the butt. And you can count on me today to give you that. Okay. But some of you don't need it. Some of you are flying, you're flourishing. You embrace this whole virtual world. All right. And so kudos to you. But here's the deal. I just want to remind us all, even as leaders, we all have access to the same tools and information. So the question becomes, why do people do what they do? And why do people not do what they don't do? Okay, so wave at the camera for me, and I hope you'll all keep your cameras on today, because this is going to be very interactive. Wave at the camera if you would love to know, by the time we finish this morning here in Utah, the answer to those two questions. Would that benefit you? Would it benefit you personally to know why you do what you do and why you don't do what you don't do? Okay. And would it benefit you as a leader to know why your people do what they do and don't do what they don't do? Okay, good. So when the pandemic began, I thought, well, I'm going to dive into that question. I'm going to study human behavior. Okay, because it's not unique to Mary Kay, you guys. It's not unique to Mary Kay. The answer to that question, there are two reasons. That's what my months and months and months and months and months of research have taught me. There are two reasons that we do everything that we do, good or bad. And there are same two reasons that we don't do what we don't do. Now think about this. You can take somebody who has superior skills, an excellent education, maybe a doctorate, has a privileged upbringing, right? Like went to all the best schools, all the best private schools, colleges, all of it, okay? Maybe even had tutors. Their parents were able to afford tutors. And those people go on to not achieve much in life. Do you know any of those people that just, literally, seemingly had it all together, and yet through poor choices, their life didn't turn out like people would have thought it would with all of the privileges they had? You know, what comes to mind for me are people like Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, a lot of celebrities, okay? They had everything seemingly they needed. People adored them, right? Like not only did they have money and opportunities, but oh my gosh, you guys. And yet through a series of poor choices made consistently, let this sink in, okay? They did not go on to achieve what they ultimately could. Now, were they successful? Yes, but honestly, life ended way too soon. And we could go into so many people, and people that you know too. Yet you can take another person, think about this, who has every disadvantage in life, right? And those people they had no money. They had sometimes no education, sometimes just an elementary school education, right? But they go on to produce results beyond what is even imaginable. Okay, why? The answer is very simple. It's not capability, okay? It's the simple fact that what people will do is very different than what they can do. Write it down. What people do, what they will do, actually, the word will is very important. What people will do is very different than what they can do. Okay, look me in the eyeballs. We're going to get real serious here this morning. Look right at me. Do you know that what you are capable of doing, top leaders in Mary Kay, is very different than what you actually do every day? Do you know that? Okay. We got to stop pretending not to know what to do. It's one of my favorite quotes. I did not make it up, but I love it. Stop pretending not to know what to do. In this group, led by national sales directors like Jill Davis and all of the other nationals that you're all associated with, and you know what? You're all associated with every national. You have complete access to any national sales directors trainings and top directors trainings. What is it? We have now $34 million directors right now who have the same tools we all have. They have access to the same people, the same tools, all of it. But they were willing to do what maybe others have not been willing to do, and they do it, here's that word, consistently. Now we know this. We got to stop pretending not to know what to do. Okay, so with that said, and I want you to be really honest with me this morning, you guys. I want you to literally type into the chat. This is called accountability. And I don't care what motivational speaker, national sales director, top director you listen to, okay? Inside and outside of Mary Kay, the best of the best leadership trainers will tell you, they will always mention, and trust me, I've been studying human behavior from all these people, okay? There's never a time that you won't hear us say the word consistently. It's a big word when you work for yourself, okay? So I want you to type into the chat. Now listen before you start typing. How many skincare classes? And be honest, okay? Because this training won't serve you if you try to pad the answer. How many skincare classes with a hostess? And literally, I mean, a real hostess who you know is going to show up with 5 or 6 people, whether it's in person or virtual, okay? You know, you don't think she said, yeah, I'll try to get some people together. That doesn't count. Genuine, what we've always called back in the day before virtual, legitimate skincare classes. How many do you have on your books right now for the next 4 weeks? Type it into the chat. It may not feel good. It may be 0, and it's okay. And I know some of you are ready to already strangle me, and you might start jumping off the Zoom. And if that's the choice that you make, well, then God bless you, okay? Accountability doesn't feel good, but you do this to your consultants all the time, right? You flat out ask them what's on your books. And I will ask mine, when was the last time you took a legitimate mental bath? I mean, if they call to, you know, if they're down in the dumps and they call to complain, that's always my first question. When was the last time, Roxy, you did a 4-week, at least 5 days a week, legitimate mental bath with the B, A, T, and the H, okay? Because some people say, well, I did my mental bath. I just didn't get the bookings every day. And I just want to like knock my head. Like, seriously, don't even talk to me, okay? Because that's the most important part of the mental bath, right? So, but anyway, you're typing in how many classes do you actually have on your books with a hostess, okay? All right. I'm not going to look at it right now because, but your directors, your nationals are going to look at it. Your seniors are going to look at it. More importantly, you had to answer that question for yourself in front of your peers. Okay. If that didn't feel good, that's the first thing I would go and fix when I jump off this. I would do nothing else, nothing. Okay. Until I sat down with a bubble sheet. Anybody familiar with a bubble sheet? Okay. Yep. Bubble sheet, and knock it out. It's 56 bubbles. Make 56 asks to try the product and give your honest opinion. By the time you're done, you'll have 10 bookings. And you've had that tool, my friends. Before I got on this call this morning, I've taught it for probably a couple decades now. That was an original. Thank you. Mary Pyatt has that in front of her. I love it when you have access to it. But directors, if you're not using it and you don't have a testimony about that bubble sheet, you're not training on it either. Okay, that will solve the world's problems right there. 56 bubbles. You ask with intention, with positive intention. You expect the bookings. That's a whole nother training. Okay, so what's going on in here, these 6 inches, that determines how well that bubble sheet turns out. If you or your people go into it and think, well, nobody's going to book with me, but fine, Tammy, I'll make these 56 asks. And you go into it with that kind of an attitude and stinking thinking, I wouldn't want to book with you. Okay, but if you go into it with, oh my gosh, I am a booking machine. Everybody wants to book with me. My date book's always full. Everybody's going to say yes. People want to be around me. I have great energy. Who wouldn't want to be around me? You know, when people like Heather Daniel Kent, I don't know if she's on this morning, but I know she's out there in that area. When Heather gets on to book people, I am telling you, she's going to get more than 10 bookings on her bubble sheet because Heather goes into it with positive expectancy, right? Okay, I'm getting off track here, but I just want you to understand that's another privilege, really, you guys. Tool, privilege, like we were talking about earlier. People can have all the tools, all the privileges, yet they do nothing, right? Or very little. They accomplish very little. So, but then somebody else takes that bubble sheet and just goes with it. I have another girl that just 2 weeks ago, what had been on a Mary Kay hiatus for 2 years, came back to get going, and in 2 days of calling, she works a full-time job, had 10 classes on her books because she did a bubble sheet, and she knew it, right? She knew that it would work. So the reason I asked you that was recently, the only other time I've taught this training, I was at Fill the Power in Florida, and I taught a class. There were about probably 400 people in the room, and I did a count up. And whenever I'm in person, that's how I would do it. Have everybody stand up, stay standing. If you have one class, legitimate, with a hostess, you know she's going to have 5 or 6, not just because she said she did. You know the difference, right? Or you've already got a virtual party. Maybe you do Facebook parties and there's already 25 people, engaging in the group, right? That's going to be a good class. Okay. So I did a count up, 400 people-ish, 300, 400 in the room. And there were 4 people by the time I was finished that had 5 classes on their books out of 300 to 400. 5. There was one girl, a sales director, newer sales director, I think she'd been a director a year, that had 10 classes. One person out of 300 to 400. And this was only a couple of weeks ago, you guys. This isn't early pandemic. Okay. Well, that told me where the training needed to go, right? It's, again, we got to stop pretending not to know what to do. We absolutely know what to do. Even if we are telling ourselves we don't have anybody to ask to book. That is the biggest lie told consistently in our company. If you haven't asked the people that you came into Mary Kay knowing at least 5 times to try the product and give their opinion, you have a huge potential bookings list. Okay, 5 times they've said no to you to hold a class, not even hold a class, just even try the product and give you their opinion. That's all you're asking for. Link to what your goal is. You guys, you're sales directors. I don't need to give you a script. You've got great scripts, but do you believe it? Are you going in with positive expectancy? Okay. So anyway, that led me right to the question, why do people do what they do and not do what they don't do? Now, wave at the camera if you were able to type in, because I don't have time to go read it right now. Wave at the camera if you typed in 10 or more legitimate classes on your books. Wave at the camera. Wave at the camera. I've got to switch pages here. There's like 3 pages of you people. Okay, which is very exciting. Okay, I saw one person waving. Leslie Lever. Leslie, will you unmute yourself, please? One person was waving at me when I said 10. Leslie, first of all, where do you live?
I live in Shawnee, Kansas.
Okay, and how long have you been a Mary Kay?
22 years.
22 years. And what credit can you give having 10 classes on your books right now?
I had looked at my numbers at the end of February and saw that we were a little closer than I thought to Unit Club, and rebooked several women who had been a Facebook party hostess for me a year ago right now on skincare. So I created a color party and asked several of them, and that's what I have going.
Well, there you go. So there's an idea that you can all take away from this. Just went back to current hostesses. I remember Kathy Goff-Brummett used to teach that your hostesses host for you 4 times a year. Every time new product comes out, they host and they can earn the new product. I mean, that really, you guys, again, she just gave you another reason. You have a lot of potential people to book. It's just what you're telling yourself in your head about the bookings that you have, or the potentials that you have. Okay, so you have 10 classes on your books to be held in the next 4 weeks. And it's one person. See how that worked out the same it worked out at Fill the Power, you guys. This is what has to change in Mary Kay. Okay, Leslie, thank you so much. I was holding my breath, hoping that at least one person on this call would be someone that could, speak up and give them their honest reaction to that. And we can't wait to hear, Leslie, on the
Thank
20,
you.
on January, on what is it? When Jan's talking to you guys, the 21st, I think it was, Jan and June, how that went. So keep track of your sales, keep track of your new bookings, keep track of your sharing appointments, keep track of your new team members, because you guys, this reminds me of Jen Bessaker. You all know Jen Bessaker, $1 Million Director. Used to be Semmelsberger, and I think it's Bessaker. I forget which, I think it's Bessaker now. Yeah. So anyway, Jen, I'm just very briefly, I'm going to tell you her story if you don't know it. Jen was sitting with like not a good situation when the pandemic hit, and she was telling herself in her head that she just couldn't wait till things got back to normal so we could go back to doing normal skincare classes. That was her repetitive conversation in her head. And so from March until August, she stuck with that story, and things were going downhill rapidly. And because she wasn't jumping into the virtual world, neither was her unit, right? She was kind of just in that frozen panic mode. Well, she sat down and just decided, decide, CIDE. The root word of that means to cut off all other options. She was going to fix it. So she got on the phone, booked 2 classes. I'm going to tell you to book 10 because maybe most of you are not $1 Million Directors. Okay. She booked 2. And from those 2 classes, I don't have time to tell you the whole story. Her bookings, she ended up by herself from August to June doing $400,000 in unit retail production between her personal sales, which were, I think, like 280,000, I want to say retail, something like that, 275, 280. So more than half of that 400,000 was her personal sales from her personal appointments. Then you add on all of her personal recruits from that, which were like 35 personal recruits that she got, and their production coming in, right? And reorders from only the people that came in from the time she started doing her own classes again. They did over $1 million. She was one of those $34 million directors. They've gone from 650 the year before to over $1 million. But if you take all of that out that she produced from her just taking the decision, right, to it was going to be up to Jen to just jump in, get a couple of hostesses, do the virtual thing, right, and do what she knew to do from not being virtual. You guys, virtual is no different than in person. You just turn on your Zoom, for crying out loud, okay? Or you get into your Facebook. That's a little bit different, but not much. You still have to book, coach, right? Close, team build. I mean, seriously. So anyway, if you subtracted the 400,000, they would have done exactly what they had done the year before or less. So it really is speed of the leader, speed of the game. And right now, I'm going to be honest with you, the only one that has in place what she totally has control of to produce whatever she wants to produce by June 30th is Leslie Leader. She's the only one, because 10 classes will ensure that, maybe 5 or 6 of them hold, you guys. So anyway, I'm totally getting off what I want to teach you today. We're going to talk about why people do what they do and why they don't. But I had to prove that point, because now I've proven to you, you are doing that. You know what to do, but for some reason, you haven't been doing it consistently. And quite frankly, 5 is not enough. Okay. So kudos to those of you that could type something into the chat, right? I know from just surveying my directors, other directors I've talked to recently, even though we have had all of this awesome training on virtual, and now we're getting kind of back, depending on where you live, into, hosting in-person parties, we're still stuck. We're still stuck with not enough classes on our books. And we know that is the one way to take complete control, directors. The only person you can count on right now is you. And you are skilled, and you know what to say, and you know how to say it, and you are great at skincare classes. The whole process, that's what has to replace what you've been saying, okay? You've got to replace your constant conversations with yourself. First, we have to make ourselves aware of it, okay? So We all know what to do to get those bookings, but we have not chosen to do it. So I'm going to challenge each of you to exercise your will do, because we all know that you are capable. And I want you to not stop exercising that will on a bubble sheet until it is complete. Okay, so you're going to learn right now how to take control, write this down, of your personal power. That's what my research boiled down to. The difference between what people will do and what they can do are very different. And the difference is personal power. Choosing to access the personal power, which, by the way, nobody has to give you. It's already inside of you. It's within you. Okay, you were born with it. God gave it to each of us, the will. Okay, but the definition of personal power, as far as I'm concerned, is the ability to act, the ability to take action and produce results. How many know you already have that ability? Raise your hand. This is easy to teach to you all. You're sales directors. You've proven it. You can't deny that you have the ability within you to take action and produce results. Okay. All right. So what we must do is ignite your desire. Write it down. To get you to shift from not using your will to using your will, we have to ignite your desire. What does that mean? Find your passion. How many times have we heard that, right? You've got to be passionate about it. Wouldn't it be great if I could teach you some simple steps to take daily action and make it such a habit that it happens without even thinking about it? Without even thinking about it, just like you brush your teeth, right? Okay. Here's the problem. Most people think of failure as this huge, giant event that happens. But what we really know is that failure is not an overnight experience. Am I right? Failure is not an overnight experience. We don't fail at a diet overnight, right? Our health doesn't deteriorate overnight unless we have a heart attack, which means maybe we didn't take good care of our heart, right? But not always. I mean, there's some exceptions to that health part. Our finances don't fall apart overnight, right? Our relationships don't fall apart overnight. Our Mary Kay business doesn't fall apart overnight. So failure is not an overnight experience. But here's the other part. Neither is success. Neither is success. Success is one step at a time. A culmination of successes repeated over a lifetime. This is where it gets really intense. Literally creates the life we want to live. Let me say that again. Success is one step at a time. The culmination of success and successes repeated over your lifetime creates the life you want to live. Okay. Here's the deal, guys. Some people, I would say most of us, want our lives, and I'm not just talking about Mary Kay. Today we're focusing on Mary Kay, but you can, what I'm teaching you, by the way, can be applied and should be applied to every area of your life. Your spiritual life, your financial life, your relationships, your health. Did I say finances yet? Your business, all of it, all areas of your life, okay? We want that to change and improve, don't we? I hope we're not complacent. Complacency is a slow death to the person God designed you to be. Write that down. Complacency is a slow death to the person God designed you to be, to what he gave you. And boy, can we get complacent as directors and top directors and national sales directors. Okay. I do not want to meet my maker and have him say to me, well, you achieved half of what I gave you. Okay. So we want our lives to change and improve, but here's the problem. We're not even clear on what it is we really want. What do you really want? That unit club sounds good, but what do you really want? What will that unit club mean in your life? How will it change literally your existence and that of your family? You don't want the unit club. You want what you think the unit club will bring you. Okay. Just like we don't want more money. We don't want pieces of paper with dead presidents on them. It's not the money that we want. It's what the money will bring our lives, right? It's an emotion, peace. What would more money bring your life? Peace, calm, security. Those are all emotions, you guys. So no wonder we don't have 10 classes on our books when we haven't even really come to terms with ourselves on what is it we really want. How is that Cadillac going to change your life and the life of the ones that you love? What does that really look like? What's the vision? Does that put you and your high school kids at the Eiffel Tower, so what they get to see the Eiffel Tower and go up the elevator to the Eiffel Tower and have dinner at that restaurant that so many of the nationals have done, that's $200 a plate, so that they can see the Eiffel Tower instead of just reading about it in a book? Do you see what I'm saying? What is it that you really want? You got to figure that out, my friends, before any of what I'm going to teach you about exercising. That's why you're not exercising your will. My friends, it's why you don't have 10 classes. Oh, I'm getting passionate. Sorry. I get intense. If you've never heard me train, whoo, haven't had that much coffee yet this morning, but I want it for you so bad. And when you look at the national sales directors in this company, that's the difference. That's the only difference. They were clear on what each step on the career path, each accomplishment, doing the million, earning those trips, they were clear on what that brought their lives. It wasn't for the car. It wasn't for the unit club. It wasn't for the diamond ring. It wasn't to stand on stage and get the recognition. It was literally how it was going to change their life. I don't know how many of you heard my Miss America story. If you haven't, I really need to record it just so I can send people to listen to it. But that's the perfect example. I wanted to be Miss America for my father, okay? Because my whole life he told me I was going to be Miss America. This is the short version. And by the time I was, a teenager, my self-talk was so negative about it, and I didn't even know it was, that I could never be Miss America because I didn't look like that in a swimming suit. I didn't have a talent like that, and blah, blah, blah. So really, it was my self-talk that, because I could have become Miss America. We all could have. Maybe you're not tall enough, whatever. Okay, wear higher heels. But anyway, so the bottom line was I never did it. Well, enter Mary Kay into my life in 1994, went to my first seminar and saw Suzanne Brothers be crowned on stage. And if you think about the crowning process, it is the Miss America pageant, my friends. They do it exactly. Mary Kay designed that thing to mimic it. The flowers, the crown, the sash, even the president walks you back and forth on that stage exactly like Bert Parks used to do it when I was a kid. He was the first host of the Miss America pageant. Well, I sat in that arena and saw that and decided I'm going to be the queen. I was a DIQ. I had no clue what Suzanne Brothers had done. I didn't know what a unit club was. Okay. It didn't matter. You see, because all I saw was I can be Miss America for my father. That was the emotion that I wanted to create to become number one. So when Amy read my accolades today and you heard I was number one in the world, that's why. Had nothing to do with being number one, had everything to do with taking my father to seminar, sitting him on that front row and surprising him. He didn't know. He was coming just because I said, Dad, I'm getting an award. It would mean the world to me if you could come. And he didn't know until they got to the top 3 that night. He didn't get it when the top 10 came out. He got it when it got to 3 and I wasn't eliminated yet. And then it went to 2 and then it was 1. Anyway, you guys, it's an amazing story and what he said on stage. I worked for 9 years to become #1 in the world with a laser focus. And in that time, that's why we did $500,000 our first year. It's why we did 1.3 million our third year. It's all about the Miss America. Do you see what I'm saying? What do you really want? Directors, when you tap into that, you will know. Okay, somebody's got to keep me track on time because I could, I'll stop talking when I'm supposed to, but I won't be finished. Okay, here we go. So fast forward to why do people do what they do and not do what they don't do? You ready? 2 reasons. Every single thing we do, from eating that chocolate cake when we really want to lose 20 pounds, to not saving money and spending it frivolously on things we don't really need, is because, you ready? To avoid pain. We do what we do and don't do what we don't do to avoid pain. And number 2, gain pleasure. It is that simple. Everything human beings do, we do for one of those 2 reasons. Okay. I don't jump out of perfectly good airplanes with a parachute because to me, that associates way more pain and fear, which fear is really why we don't do what we don't do. But the real translation of fear is pain. We're trying to avoid pain when we have fear of something, right? And so some people, how many of you have jumped out of a perfectly good airplane with a parachute? Wave at the camera. None of you. Okay, none of you on that page. Well, my kids both did it with my former husband, okay, which was painful for me too to watch. But anyway, you guys, we don't do it because we want to avoid, we've associated more pain with what do you call it? Parachuting, what do you call it? Skydiving, okay? Then we have associated pleasure. But how many of you know somebody that has jumped out of an airplane? Yeah, because they are thrill seekers and they associate the thrill of it, the accomplishment of it with so much pleasure. They don't even think about the pain. That's a really extreme example, okay? But let's liken it to your bookings. The reason you don't have 10 classes on your date books right now, sales directors, is because you have subconsciously associated more pain with having 10 parties on your books, or even the act of getting them on your books, than you've associated pleasure. Wow. Boom, right? Who's having a like mind-blowing experience right now? It's what you've done. And the thing is, you aren't even, some of you, aware that you've done it. So I have an assignment for you. You ready? Okay. I want you to think right now of 2 actions, just 2 for now. 4 or 5 would be better, but right now I just want you to come up with 2. The first 2 that come into your mind when I say this. What are 2 actions that you know for a fact, if you did them consistently from now until June, would have an explosive impact on your results? Write them down. 2 actions that you personally could take. 2 things you've been putting off that you know for sure when you make them, and this is Mary Kay related, okay? Because right now we're focusing on your professional life, will change your business. 2 decisions you know you've been putting off that when you make them right now, this second, will change your life. Wave at the camera when you picked your 2. Okay, now type it into the chat. Type both of them into the chat. I know, accountability. You got to fall in love with accountability, friends. Good, Beth. Beth Lane, 10 booking calls a day. 10
Tammy,
interviews.
are these 2 decisions and 2 actions the same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm just calling them, I'm reversing it. 2 decisions,
Okay.
2 actions. But actions is a better word. When you're transferring this information to your consultants, use the word actions. 2 actions they know that would literally cause explosive growth to their business if they were just willing, remember that word, will, and it's already inside of us, willing to take the action. Okay, Susan McCoy put 1 to 2 classes. Yes, but sometimes you have to drill down further. What's it going to take to get those 2 classes? Is it going to boil down to bookings? I mean, asking, we call them asks in my area. I don't say bookings anymore. I haven't for a long time, because you don't get to get the booking. You get to do the asking. And if you haven't read The Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod, read it. Like right now, stop reading whatever you're reading and read that book right now, because Hal Elrod tells an amazing story. And this is really kind of it's a big part of what prompted me to dig into human behavior. Okay. But Hal Elrod was with the company called Cutco, you know, the knife company. Okay. Well, he, and I'm just wasting time right now while you guys are typing in your answers, because I want 100% of you to commit to what you already knew. Okay. Do you notice how quickly those 2 actions came to you? Didn't have to think long and hard about it, right? You knew you were avoiding them. You knew you were putting them off already. I just had to get on here this morning and pull it out of you. But you got to type it in. It's, you know, if you're not willing to type it into the chat, you're not willing to change. Okay. So anyway, Hal Elrod, I'm going to tell you real quick his story. He wanted to be #1 in the Cutco company, and he'd only been in for a year. So he interviewed all the people that had broken the record for the most sales in a year, like be the Gloria Mayfield Banks of Cutco. And in his interviewing, excuse me, I breathed in. Hold on. Oh dear. That's going to be attractive on the recording. Okay. So Hal Elrod figured out the only thing he was not doing that the record breakers were doing, he was doing the same presentation. If you've ever seen a Cutco presentation, you know they are identical because of the way they train their people. It's intense. It's intensive. If you've never treated yourself to one, call somebody and have them come and teach you or show you their presentation, and ask yourself, is my skincare class that good? I mean, you guys, I don't cook like ever, like I microwave and order out, just because doesn't bring me joy. Okay. But so I told myself, when my friend sent, I think it was her son or somebody over to show me the Cutco demonstration, I'm like, I'm not buying knives. I've got perfectly good knives. They're great. They're from Costco. They're in a block. They're awesome. Okay. Those of you that really cook are laughing because you're like, that's terrible. I know good knives matter, but I didn't know it. This young 20-year-old comes over to my house and does this less than 1 hour demonstration. I bought like $1,000 worth of knives, and I'm in sales. I knew when she was closed, or he or she, I had 2 different demonstrations. I knew they were closing me. And that next thing I knew, I am just ordering it all because of his demonstration, right? So anyway, back to his thing. He wanted to be #1. The only thing the record breakers were doing, he wasn't doing, because they're everything with a nickel. Their wording, the presentation, the way he cut that penny with a pair of scissors. I mean, exactly the same that they were all doing. The one thing, they were asking 40 people a day to host a demonstration a day. And he was asking maybe 15 to 20. He upped his number to 40 a day and flew by all of them that very year and was #1. The asks, that's why we call them asks in my area, not bookings. Just get your dang bubble sheet out and do your asks. How many asks a day? And what I'm going to teach the Reds this afternoon is how to figure out how many asks a day it's going to take them from now till June 30th to hit Princess Quarter Sales and National Quarter Sales. That's what I'm going to teach them. They're going to know when they get off that Zoom exactly how many asks they need to do a day to get to wherever they want to go. It's not about anything else but how many you're asking. And same thing with you directors. Okay, so I'm getting off track here and I got to get back on. Okay. So your next assignment, you may have already guessed it, okay, is to get quiet with yourself when this Zoom is over and really dig into what pain have you been associating with the 2 actions you wrote down. And it could be more than one pain, okay? And I'm not even going to give you ideas because I don't want to pour into your thoughts. I want you to know why you haven't been doing it. You have been associating more pain, let me say it one more time, with having 10 classes on your books or getting 10 classes on your books, okay, then you've been associating pleasure. So what pains has your mind been, and you've subconsciously been telling yourself about getting the bookings, okay, or holding the appointments? Sometimes it's like, if I book them, then I'm going to have to hold them, and I'm not ready because I haven't perfected my blah, blah, blah. I just don't want to give you too much because I want you to really figure it out on your own, okay? What pain have you been associating? So I will give you one more example. Some of you are terrified that if you get 10 classes on your books, you'll be too busy. And then you won't be able to blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe I'll spend less time with my children. If I get 10 classes on my books, I've only been holding 2 a month. If I get 10 on my books for the next 4 weeks and I hold 2 or 3 or 5 a week, like Mary Kay always asked us to, then I will have less time with my children. Okay. And your kids are made, I don't know what your kids' ages are, but my kids were 3 and 8 when I started, and they're now 31 and 36. Okay. All right. So, and that might be a pain you're associating with it. And I get it. But now I'm going to tell you the next part of this exercise. When you're finished with the pains from both of those actions, okay, then you're going to take another piece of paper and you're going to write down all the pleasures that could come to you and your life and your family by choosing to do those things, right? So you get what we're doing, right? We're identifying the pain that we've been associating with each. Then we're going to literally brainstorm about the pleasures, you guys, and they are endless. Endless. If you constantly had 10 classes on your books, what could that produce? So much, okay? I mean, it could be everything from sitting on that throne like you've always wanted to, the high eyes that just love that kind of thing, okay? Or, some of us do it to prove all the people wrong that said we couldn't. That's a D thing, okay? S is you want to be queen so you can bring your family to seminar and showcase them on stage, right? C's, I'm not sure, just because you want to prove that the numbers work, I guess, okay? So, but bottom line is, you guys, that's one thing. But what could it do financially? Do you realize that having 10 classes on your books could put you in the home that you really want to live in the neighborhood you want to live in? Do you realize that those same kids that you're saying, oh, if I held 10 classes, I wouldn't have as much time with my kids. Do you know that they want to go to Harvard? Or whatever awesome college? Having 10 classes on your books at all times and mastering your presentation could literally put your kids in any college they want to go to, paid for, with no stress at all. That's a pleasure that could come from it. Maybe your husband hates his job. You could get him out of that. I could go on and on and on. But pretty much 10 classes on your books at all times will make you a Lisa Madsen, will make you a Kathy Halou, will make you a Gloria Mayfield Banks, will make you a Pam Shaw. Because when I came into Mary Kay in 1994, those were the $1 million and $2 million directors, and I followed their lead. And every one of them at one time or another, you will hear on a recording, said, if I looked at my date book and didn't have 10 classes on it, how many of you have heard them say this? Wave at the camera. You've heard them say it. If I didn't have 10 classes on my books, I was in full on panic mode and I didn't do anything else until I got it. Lisa Madsen is the one that rings true to me because we were in the Diamond Seminar together, right? And the reason, by the way, it took me however many years it was to become number one is because Lisa Madsen was in my seminar. People, feel the pain. She was doing 2 million and I was number 2, the queen of runner-up, until she got a different suit. When she finally put her national suit on, I thanked her from the stage and said, thank you, Lisa Madsen, for coming to seminar in a different suit. Sayonara, see you later. Knock yourself out. Then my area stepped up, right? And that's an excuse. If I wanted to do 2 million, I could have done it. Yeah? Okay. But anyway, funny story. She and I are dearest of friends, but Lisa was the one that said, and Lisa's safety and security, by the way, And if she looked at her date book and didn't have 10 classes on it at all times, like maybe she held a party last night and didn't get a booking, so now she's down to like 8 classes or 9. She didn't do anything that day till she replaced it and got back to 10. Gang, that's all it takes. All those people, the best, Rena Tarbett, the best of our best, always said it. And it's exactly what I did to become number 1 in the world and do national. Back then, doing national in 10 years was fast. Okay. Nowadays, not so much. Right. But anyway, it is the key to everything. Okay. Then you're going to write down. So I already said you're going to write down the pleasures. Yes. Okay. Then, and this is the Reader's Digest version of all of what I've learned, you guys. But then when you take your lists of pleasures and you literally type them up, and every morning when your feet hit the ground, that's what you ingest, the odds of you exercising your personal power to do what you already knew to do will increase. The only reason you haven't been doing it is because it's literally called neuroassociations. Write that down. You can, those of you that are interested in scientific research, why we do what we do, brains, neuroscience. Okay. It's neuro conditioning, literally, if you want to get technical. And let me give you an example. Okay, those of you that are in your maybe late 30s, early 40s and beyond, like me, are going to know this answer. When I say these words, what do you think? Winston tastes good. Marie, you got it. I saw her mouth moving like a cigarette should. Okay, that was an ad back in like 1970s and 80s. It has not been on the air for decades. But those of us that grew up in that era, the 70s, 80s and beyond, we know it. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should, okay? Even if you don't believe it. I've never been a smoker, but they stink, they're disgusting, but to me, but still, I remember it because it was drilled in. That's what advertising is, right? Double your pleasure. Some of you knew that one. Double your pleasure, double your fun. Double mint gum, right? I could go on and on and on, and you would instantly know the answer, okay? Because of the neuro association. It's just like, I think Linda Tupin used to talk about it like patterns that get, little folds in your brain, remember? Okay, it's scientific. That's the exciting part, you guys. It's kind of not your fault, right? But it is your fault because your neuro association with getting 10 classes on your books is ingrained just like double your pleasure, double your fun. When you think get 10 bookings, or someone in a workshop says, go get 10 bookings, or your national says, go get a gold medal, your neuro conditioning kicks in because you have repeated the pain that you've associated with it so many times. It's all your brain knows. Even if you want to go do it, those things kick up. So guess what? Now you're going to take all the pleasures and replace them. And the more emotion that the pleasures you write down evoke for you, the easier it's going to be. Okay. So let me go back to the Miss America story. My only thought for 9 years was my father in that seat watching me be crowned Miss America. It didn't matter if a class canceled, boom. I had thrones, empty thrones. At the end of seminar, when they bring the throne out with the flowers sitting on it, you can hurry and quick, get a picture. I had those blown up in like 5x7 and 8x10s, and they were all over my house for 9 years. That was my major goal poster because it's all I wanted. Okay. And even you lift up the toilet seat in any of my toilets, there was a laminated version of it. I am not kidding you. Okay. It was saturated because I never knew where I was going to be when I got a cancellation. Might've been going to the bathroom. Right. So if somebody sold their roll-up bag back to me, or one of my hot shots called and had sent her product back to the company, I needed to be protected. It was on the steering wheel of my car. It was on the front of my day planner. Today, it would have been the screensaver on my phone. Okay. I mean, everywhere, Tammy, because you need a picture of your neuro association as well. What's the picture that's going to change your life? If you really want a new home and a safer place for your family to live or whatever, get a picture of the actual home, my friends, and make a book out of it, what every room's going to look like. I mean, I don't know what your pleasure is, but whatever the biggest one is, okay, or if all of them, you can have a multifaceted goal poster with, you know, maybe 4 quadrants of the things that are going to change when you do this. But you have to not only know in your brain and read it to yourself, the pleasures list every morning, it has to surround you so that when the UPS man comes, he knows what your goal is. Literally, you open the front door and he's going to see a picture of it, right? And you tell everybody about it. But the ones that really pull at your heartstrings, gang, because the more you visually see it and the more you say it to yourself, all of those negative, somebody's unmuted, those negative associations are going to completely be gone because you replace them with the pleasures. You understand? What we do to avoid pain or gain pleasure. So when you associate more pleasure with what you really want to have happen, it will happen. But you got to work at it. It's called conditioning. You've been conditioning your brain to the pain. Now you need to condition your brain to the pleasures. See, your pleasures to this point, they've kind of been there. When you go to seminar and you see the queen, you're like, oh, I'm going to go back and be queen next year. I'm going to be queen. This is it. I'm going to get my bumblebee this year. Okay. Because they're temporary. But like I told you earlier, it's not the bumblebee you really want. It is the emotion and the emotion that's going to come from the bumblebee, because the bumblebee means I have a bigger unit. So that more things are happening because my unit is larger. Numbers matter, my friends. Okay. If you're frustrated with your unit, it's not big enough. Flat out, write that down. And you have the ability to change it. From August to June, Jen Bessaker recruited 35 personal qualified recruits. Whole new unit. Okay. Added that to her unit that was already, they had done Million once before, I believe, and they had done Trip many times, but she just added 35 new who also added more, and there was massive growth. Yes. Okay. So that bumblebee really is the emotion of not having to stress about your unit production because you've doubled the size of your unit or added whatever to it. Okay. Maybe that, you know, financially, that means your commission checks monthly will double, triple, quadruple, whatever. And what will the money from that do to your family? Maybe you can get rid of all that debt. Maybe your husband can quit his job and do what he really wants to do. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not the bumblebee. And that's why it's so easy to walk away from the bumblebee and not be on target for the bee right now, because you were associating, well, the pleasure's the bee, but the pain is I would have to blah, blah, blah. Are you following me? When you really dig in and you sit quietly and you think, what will the pleasures be? Okay. It's going to be amazing. And some of you are going to have to really, it's visualization is what it is. So sometimes it's easier to look at someone who has done it. Okay. And that is role modeling. So if you're like really struggling to think, well, I don't know what it would look like if I did triple star this year, what would that look like? Well, who's the most recent to have done double star or triple star? And how has her life changed, right? But you've got to dig in, you guys. For me, that Miss America thing did not happen in 6 months, in 4 months. What are we in the final 4? It didn't happen in 4 months, but we did $500,000 that first year, right? And then the next year we did 800,000, went on both trips. Next year we did 1.3. So it can be a bigger thing like the Miss America deal, but trust me, your life is going to dramatically change in between. And I don't know how many of you know my story. I didn't even come into Mary Kay for the money. I was married to a guy that made a ton of money. I had everything coming into Mary Kay. I had $1 million home. I had the fancy cars. I had trips all over the world. And I'm not saying that to brag to you. I want you to know there's people like me that just need to be Miss America for their father. And nobody ever asked me. Nobody ever asked me to do Mary Kay. Okay. Who are you making a decision for? Even directors. Who are the people that have all this stuff and seemingly the perfect financial lifestyle that you haven't even asked to give you the honest opinion of the product? What does she need in her life? You know, that whole poem, I think Arlene Lenars was credited with it. Maybe she needs me. I don't know who wrote it, but Arlene shared it a lot. Gang, I did not need the financial security in 1994. I had it. I needed fun, friends, a platform to exercise my will that God gave me. And look what happened, not just for me, but, you know, thank you to Amy for introducing me. The mental bath and the bubble sheet have changed people's lives. Okay. And that was only because I came into Mary Kay, came up with it, and God gave me those ideas, right? And I passed them on. But what if nobody had ever asked me, right? Who are you not asking? I'm totally getting off track here. Okay. I think we have until 12:30. Is that right? So do I still have like 25 minutes or so, or a little bit less, 20 minutes? Okay. All right. So, oh, you guys, this is an appetizer of what I have learned about why people do what they do and don't do what they don't do. It's step one, but it's enough to get you started, and it's enough to make the change. But what you're going to have to do, okay, is be diligent about when you do your mental bath, which I hope you're all doing every day as well. I'm certain you're not, but maybe when you get off the call, and I've reminded you about the bubble bath and the mental bath. And again, I base all these things I'm saying off of statistics because I do research all the time. How many of you know about the mental bath? Yep. Okay, raise your hand. You know about the mental bath. How many of you did one the last 4 weeks? Yeah, exactly. Okay. But the mental bath combined with the bubble sheet is the bubble bath. And it keeps your head clean. It keeps your business clean. It keeps everything running. And you know this, but if you're not doing it, you're not teaching it. Okay. So when you do your mental bath every day, B is booking, right? That's going to happen because I've just talked you through the fact you're going to do your asks. Affirmations. When you're doing your affirmations, you read the pleasures list and you visualize it. Like I would visualize, you guys, I would sit for 5 minutes and just imagine, what's my dad going to be wearing? What's the facial expression he's going to have when he realizes I'm number one? Well, I just thought he'd jump up and applaud, but my dad cried. It was even better than what I visualized for 9 years. My dad never cried. He was the roughest, toughest cowboy mountain man you ever met, right? And he wept. He wept because I didn't even have to say anything. I was on stage. I wasn't talking. He just saw them put the sash, the crown. My dad and I hadn't even talked about it. He knew why I had invited him there. He's like, there she is, my Miss America. He'd been telling me since I was 5 years old, probably sooner, but every birthday card he ever addressed to me, every note he ever wrote me was addressed to Miss America. You guys, I visualize what's that moment going to be like when he gets it, right? It was so much better than I even imagined. But I'm telling you, when I did my mental bath, it wasn't just read through it and rattle it off to get on to the next thing. It was read through it. And my list was short about that one. Okay. But I would close my eyes for 3 to 5 minutes and just replay what that was going to look like. Do you realize I had a pink coat of armor around me every single day? Nobody could penetrate. Nobody could frustrate me. Nobody could disappoint me. You know what? I was unoffendable because my vision was so clear, and my purpose and my passion and the pleasure that was going to come from whatever I had to do to make it happen was bigger than any. There was no pain associated with it. No pain, right? Here's another thing scientifically you need to know. Your subconscious mind, which controls everything you do, okay, only knows, it has two purposes, okay? Your subconscious mind has two purposes. Well, number one, it doesn't know true from false. I shouldn't say purposes. Here's what you need to know about your subconscious mind. Number one, it cannot associate true or false. It only knows what you tell it. It only knows what you tell it. That's how it works. Okay. Garbage in, garbage out. Remember that. The second thing you need to know about your subconscious mind, its only job is to prove you right. How many of you learned that in Psychology 101? It's all coming back to you now. Okay. Yep. Kayla. So number one, it only knows what you tell it, and it doesn't know if it's true or false. And number two, it will prove you right 100% of the time. Okay. Which is why those of you that said you were going to earn your B are officially on target for it or have already done it for the year. I have a girl already done with her triple star by the end of January. Boom. Okay. And number two, it will prove you right every time. So you better be dang careful what you're telling that brain of yours. And that's why the pleasures list, right? I didn't know that when I was Miss America for my dad, that I would have all those accolades. All those accolades Amy read from today, I never planned to do any of that. You guys, it was the pleasure I wanted to get from seeing my dad for that one moment. You know how quick that little queen crowning thing goes at seminar? It's maybe 10, 15 minutes of your life, right? But it was everything to me, that pleasure. So you need to associate that, and you need to believe it. You need to believe it is the thing. Some of you keep telling yourself, well, you know, I grew up poor. My family's been poor. Nobody in my family has ever had $1 million home. Nobody in my family has ever made $1 million. That's just not the upbringing I come from. It's not what, you know, I was told money was bad when I was young. I was brought up to think money was evil and money made you a bad person and blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's all what you're telling your subconscious mind. And guess what? Welcome to your life. Welcome to where you are right now. Okay. Because it only knows what you tell it. It doesn't know if that's true or false. You know, Oprah Winfrey used to tell herself that she was always going to be a big, heavy girl because every woman in her family was, until one day she realized that's not true. Right? I'm going to tell myself something different. And she's not, I don't know, I haven't seen Oprah live on stage in a while, but she's dramatically thinner than when she first came on the scene, right? So that's her whole fitness thing too. But all that had to change, because what she was telling herself, the subconscious was like, yep, you're right. All your family's big. All the girls in your family are big. You're just big, 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 big girls. Well, no, when she had her bone density done, she was a small frame person. But the subconscious mind didn't know it because she kept telling it, you're just a big girl, Oprah. You come from all big girls. Well, then when she changed her mind and said, that's not true, here's my new truth, the subconscious mind went to work to prove her right. And she started eating differently, exercising more, yada, yada, yada. You guys, I told you first off, you can use this in every part of your life. Those of you that are wanting to get more fit, what pain have you been associating with working out every day, going to the gym? You know, about how many years now? 4 or 5 years ago, I lost 60 pounds that I've been trying to lose for 50 years. Okay. And I'm telling you, same tools applied. I just decided that there was going to be more pleasure than pain. And you know what changed it? My former husband passed away, and my children, who are adults, were left with one parent. My parents are both gone. Their father is gone. Their father's parents are gone. I'm it. I am it for my two kids that are 31 and 36. I got to live to 100 plus. That neuroassociation is what made me decide I no longer am going to eat sugar. I no longer am going to eat white flour. I'm going to walk to the end of the block every day. Every day. I can do that. That concept comes from oh, what's that other book? Anyway, you guys read books. It's so important. Read 10 pages a day. Make sure you do it. The Slight Edge. Read The Slight Edge. That's another really important one. The Slight Edge. Walk 20 minutes a day if that's all you really can do right now. And in a year, it's going to make a difference. It might not matter today. You might get on the scale tomorrow and weigh the same, but in a week, you'll feel better. Scale may not have changed, but in 3 weeks, the scale will have changed. And in 6 months and in a year and in 5 years, you see what I'm saying, you guys? Every part of your life, financial. What pain have you been associating with your finances and paying things off and making more money to do that? What have you been telling yourself? Well, you know, we're never going to get rid of all this debt. You're absolutely right, because your subconscious mind is supposed to prove you right. So when Linda Tupin has always said, we are where we are in our lives because of the choices we have made or the choices we've allowed others to make for us, it's largely our doing. We are where we are today, my friends, every part of your life, your spiritual life, your financial life, your health and fitness, your weight, your education, your skill in doing virtual parties. Every part of your life is a result of the repetitive things you have either done or not done for a long time. And if you want those to change, what you do or don't do, like smoking, okay? You've associated more pleasure with smoking than quitting smoking, okay? There's every single thing. That's the point I'm trying to prove to you right now. Please believe me, because I only get this 1 hour, hour and a half with you. I got to drill this in, because do you see how this not only is going to matter in your life? Let's talk about your kids. You teach your kids this, you pass it on, you teach your spouse, you teach your parents, you teach your unit. It's a game changer, okay? But in order for your actions to change, what has to change? The pleasure has to be bigger than the pain. And that's why if you don't read those things to yourself every single day and visualize it and put pictures up about that, this is going to have been a waste of another hour and a half of your life, okay? Because here's how I'll wrap up, and then we can open it up for some question and answer if you want to. And I also would love to know what kind of things your Reds, I'm sure you guys have Reds getting on, if there's anything specific you need me to say, because you know sometimes when somebody else comes in and says the same thing, they listen, okay? So if you have anything you want me to talk to your Reds about, I will. But here's the deal. Oh shoot, I knew I was going to lose my train of thought when I said that. Oh, okay. So how many times have you been to a seminar, a career conference, a leadership conference, on a Zoom, that you were like, oh my gosh, that was it. That's what I needed. My entire life is going to change. I've got this now. And then you go home and 4 to 6 weeks later, ain't nothing changed. Wave your hand. Okay. That's because the pain and pleasure didn't change. So that's my gift to you today from all of the studying I've been doing on human behavior. And if you always remember that the reason we're not getting results in any area of our life that we aren't is because we subconsciously remember that. You're not even aware that you're doing it. It's Satan. It's the enemy, my friends. He's winning. He's putting that stuff in there and you're sucking it up, okay? You got to replace it. Oh, the subconscious mind can only process one thought at a time. That's the other important thing you need to know about it. So if we shove all of the pleasures in there constantly, you better have a laminated version of that list with you 24/7. It better be tattooed on your pillowcase when you go to bed at night. It better be on your bathroom mirror when you wake up. It better be on the toilet seat. I mean, everything. when you're putting the pleasures into your brain, Satan doesn't even exist because your brain can only process what you're telling it. Your brain brings to life what you're telling it. That's why you are where you are in every area of your life right now, good or bad. Good or bad. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back over to whoever's running this, and we'll open it up for questions if we need to.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Tammy. I mean, like, can you see my head? You just blew the roof right off of it. I loved this. I just told Amy, this is my favorite training ever. I think this is exactly what we needed. Gosh, oh my gosh. Well, we are going to open it up for question, affirmation. If you want to unmute yourself or maybe just raise your hand even so I can see, we don't all talk at once. I'll look for a hand raised. And we've got about 9 minutes.
Well, you know what, Susan, while you're doing that, I just want to say to everyone, to wrap back around, what we talked about, you're exercising your personal power and your will. Remember, it's what people will do and what they can do are very different. What we're capable of is anything. We are God's kids. We're the King's kids. Yeah. So it's already within us. Our personal power is there. He didn't give more personal power to Gloria and Lisa Madsen and Linda Tupin and Pam Shaw and Rena Tarbett and Tammy Crayk Smith. No, he gave us all the will, all the capability. We're the King's kids. It's already in there. I hope that's what you're most excited about today. You just now have to exercise it and take control of the pleasure. Okay.
All right, Beth Lang.
Tammy, I thank you so much, first of all. Multiple times I thought I was going to have to take my camera off so I could sit and sob. I was like, I got to stick with this. And I got to be honest, you started by saying we have access to every national and so much training. And part of my brain was like, I don't need any more training. I know what I need to do. I didn't even know if I was going to get on today. I didn't need more training, but I did need more kicking. And praise God for you being willing to give us all the kick that I know we all are receiving. Thank you so much. For such a time as this, your message is exactly what I needed. And I will probably turn my camera off and have a good cry before I do all this processing. Thank you so much. It was amazing.
You're so welcome, Beth. Thank you.
I love it. Christy Rossi.
Yes, Tammy, thank you so much. So first of all, I don't know if you realize there's a director's Bible study, and a lot of our Bible study girlfriends are on here today. Beth Lang, Susan, Carrie Boink, and many others. I haven't looked at everybody that's on, but what a blessing you've been to us to just really give us that boost or kick, right, to multiply our God-given talent. And I reached out to you a few weeks ago and you put me through this workshop then, and it has made a huge difference in my day, not only actually reading the miracle equation, right? And not just taking the information from other people that they told me, but I actually read it and put your workshop into action, answering these questions and doing the affirmations. I just want to thank you so much for leaving that with the Mary Kay world. You left us with the bubble sheet and the mental bath, and now with getting over why we're not doing what we know we should do. And I will take this recording and I will listen to it over and over and over and over and over again, just like I do the other big ones. Like, you're just amazing. And I just want to thank you personally for everything that you've done for the Mary Kay world.
Thank you, Christy. And I look forward to our lunch. She lives out in Daytona Beach, where I live half the year. We're going to figure out a time we can get together and go to lunch. How fun is that?
Right.
Traveling to Florida. I love it. Okay, Carrie Bloink.
Hey, Tammy. Oh my goodness, we met at $1 Million Weekend. You brought it today. Susan, thank you for your Go Give spirit to share this. First of all, I'm in a national area and I love truth and love. I love real talk. You brought it, but I love that you made it simple and something we have control over. You know, it's freeing that, you know, print out a bubble sheet. Like, my goal is to be $1 Million Director and I don't have 10 appointments on my books. Why? Right. And so thank you for the underlying. I cried hearing your story today. Beth, I did not go off camera. Maybe I should have. But thank you for being a legacy leader for us to follow. and being free to coach our people with this. Like, this is, we need to own it first, but wow, like, wow, we're not bad leaders. This, it is truly human nature. And now we have a guide to help them. So thank you for your time, your passion. Our Reds are going to be so blessed by you today. I'm so excited. So thank you, Tammy.
You're so welcome, Carrie. And you guys, she makes a good point. Don't be so anxious to rush out and now train your people on it. This is not one of those things you want to take and say, well, this is going to be my unit meeting this week. No, you don't own this material until you have done it and you have lived it. And it's your personal experience with doing it for an extended period of time that's going to allow you to really confidently teach it, So please don't just be anxious to go, I'm just going to go regurgitate this. They're not ready for it. Okay. What I plan to do with your Reds today is help you get them on the date book. Okay. I'm going to take the fear. I'm going to attempt to take the fear away. And I will talk a little bit about pain and pleasure quickly, but just so they'll actually get on the phone and make those calls. But what I really want to do is put them in control of knowing the yeses and nos don't matter. It's the asks. I'm going to tell them the Hal Elrod story. I'm going to tell them, all he changed was the number of asks. And when you do this amount of asks, here's where you'll be by June 30th. That's my plan with them. So by helping them ask more this week, this month, from now till June, they're going to do more, which is going to produce production, which I think is the best way I can help all of you. Okay. So that's my plan with them. I'll mention pain and pleasure, but please do it and have the personal results to explain to your people when you teach it. See, I can teach it passionately because I was Miss America. I lost 60 pounds. Does that make sense? On every area of my life, I can show you how applying those principles has changed. That's when you become believable as the leader. Okay. You cannot teach what you do not know. You cannot lead where you do not go. You also cannot lead the people you need. That's a whole nother training, but write it down because that will help you too. And that might be your existing unit. Get new, fresh people. Okay, go ahead.
Wow. Wow. Tammy, as I'm thinking about this training, I just had lunch with a former director of mine, and she has everything she needs to be a director again and to be a top director. And she asked me that question, like, how do you do it? And I'm not doing, and I honestly I didn't have the words, the pleasure and pain piece of it to bring that back around at all. So this is a wealth of knowledge, and just, I'm serious. Like, I'm going to have to take these with me forever.
It is some homework there, you guys. That's the hard part. It's hard to teach in a 1 hour or 1/2 hour thing. I'm doing a 30-day thing with my national area on this whole thing, literally 30 days worth of stuff, but it's even dragging out longer because the homework is taking them longer. Right. But this that I gave you, just gift yourself the time to do the homework effectively and really get familiar with the pain, all the pains, because you're going to have to really think, oh my gosh, I've also been thinking about that as a pain. I've also been thinking about that, right? And then the pleasure. So it's some homework. It'll take a while, but it's so worth it.
Excellent. Do we have any other last minute announcements or comments anybody wants to make? Because we have the Reds in 30 minutes. So we're going to give Tammy a 30-minute break. And Tammy, we just know whatever you want to share with them, whatever God blesses out of your mouth will be a gift. And I know many of us are going to hop back on as well. So thank you so much for your time. And Tammy, a lot of our Reds, still work a full-time job and that type of thing. So we are going to record it for them to have. And I'm pretty sure this is going to sail around the Mary Kay world about 100 times in the next 24 hours. So
perfect.
Thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. We know you just got back from a trip, and we just thank you for taking the time with us today on the 15th day of March to be with us. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.